to get everything loaded up real quick. Um, I'm joined by my youngest, just over here chilling out. I'm gonna bring up all the info I needed. So, um, we are going to go to Facebook. I'm gonna make me a little bit of instant lemonade real quick. So, alright. I'm joined by my youngest. She just chilling out over at the side, and I'm going to do my video while she just chills out. I'm going to try to drink less pop, and hopefully one day I'm streaming. What?
I'm gonna get PlayStation 4 instead of
Okay.
PlayStation 5. It's cheaper. If I
Okay.
get a Pro, it's $300. I'm gonna see which one's better, or a Slim or a Pro.
Okay.
You're streaming?
Yeah, I'm streaming.
Okay.
Alright.
Am I muted?
What?
Am I muted?
No.
Hi, YouTube.
Anyway, what's up, Fred?
Hi, Fred.
We're getting ready to get started here. I'm gonna pull up on my polls real quick, cause of things. All right, so I'll get my lemonade nice and stirred. The funny part is, I posted about this, and Ye Old Geek released a video a few hours ago about dungeon design, and I'm going to watch it when I get the time, because it's like a couple hours. So let the mix kind of dissolve a little bit. It's a little bit of a cheaper kind of mix. I'm trying to get away from pop or soda or whatever you want to call it, because it's terrible for my health. I suppose probably the biggest amount of votes I'm going to get on this. So I'm joined by my youngest. She's just over here chilling out, doing nothing. She's honestly tired. She'll probably fall asleep halfway through this. So that's the background noise. That's her, like, listening to her little videos while she goes to sleep. Like, we're just chilling out and all that, and she didn't want to take a nap today, so she's going to eventually pass out. Alright, so I have posted this in not only on my YouTube community, but also in a couple of Facebook groups. Please forgive me if I sound a little nasally and stopped up. Allergies, mostly. Like, one of my nostrils is clogged up completely because I had a pretty massive nosebleed from it this morning. I've always had that problem as long as I've been alive. So, anyways, so the groups that I posted this in, aside from my Facebook community, has been the Christian D&D group, the Reformed Tabletop Gamers, which is another Christian tabletop gaming group, and then of course the Basic Fantasy RPG group. So I did that for many different reasons. Number one, because, well, with my channel, pretty much everybody's coming to watch Basic Fantasy, really. Like, my channel is generally tabletop RPGs, but mostly Basic Fantasy. Like, it's centered around that mostly. The because so it focuses on that, and so of course I went also to the Basic Fantasy RPG group on Facebook, posted them, get some more OSR kind of perspectives on this, and I posted in the Christian D&D group, which is one of the Christian D&D community, I should say, which is more focused on modern systems. So I thought it'd be interesting to get, like, how do these new schoolers kind of get, what's their perspective on this. And then I posted in Reformed Tabletop Gamers, which is more diversified in terms of the games that are played there. It's not just D&D. It's not just OSR games, but anything from like Call of Cthulhu, Fate, GURPS, the Star Wars RPG, Pathfinder, that kind of thing. So I thought it'd be interesting, and so of course I took up the polls. So of course, and I'll give what my vote would have been if I was a voter in these. By the end of it, the poll that I posted on my YouTube channel, 67% all slash other slash all of the above, 11% of Don John or similar sites, and 22% of planned slash scripted. I was a little bit, I was a little bit curious because I didn't know where this channel stood. Now, I'm going to, before I continue, since I'm on my YouTube channel talking about this, what's up? Yes. You tired? Yeah, I know, right? But, anyways. Yeah. But anyways, so I'm going to preface this by saying, since I'm on my YouTube channel currently, and I haven't gotten to the Facebook stuff yet, I understand that the way I worded some things was weird. I understand that probably not exactly the most efficient way of doing a poll. YouTube, in case you didn't know, only gives you 5 options for when you do polls. So I had to kind of cram certain things here. Dice Rolled / Geomorph I put together in order to kind of determine some form of randomness, but more analog, I should say, rather than digital. Planned / scripted, I understand this is a very broad term. I understand to some people that seems like railroady, and that doesn't. It can, but that's not what I meant by it. So planned / scripted, I really meant like, okay, you got an idea, and you plan out rooms, and you got this idea, and you're meticulously going through like, how does this excuse me, how does this fit with this, you know what I mean? So like, I understand that option was a little bit weird. Don John or similar sites, which I think is a very common, especially in this day and age. So randomness, but digital. Using pre-published, and by that I meant anything from something you see in a book to what you see on a website. Like, for example, Dice and Logos does some different, like, I think you have options to like get one room and then build off of that if you wanted to, or like literally if you just look up dungeon map on Google, like, you get it. So like that, like, using pre-published meant more than just what's in a module, and of course you can always take from one module and stick it in this adventure and make it work for whatever you want it to. And then other / all of the above. Now, if I had to cast a vote, mine would be other / all of the above. I've done all of these. I think it's a good thing to use all of these. I want to say there is no right or wrong way. So there is no right or wrong way to answer this. There is no incorrect or correct answer. That's not what I'm saying. So there's no right or wrong way. I want to, before I continue, before I go on, I do want to acknowledge that randomness, while it can be good, I mostly use it for riffing, because randomness can sometimes, some people like the idea of having a very strange random dungeon, and I get that, but you could also have some that are just not playable. You know what I mean? Like I've created a 2-room dungeon before from Dice Rolls. It's not totally great. So But that's me. So I had presumed, honestly, I thought more votes on my YouTube channel would be more for Dice Roll / Geomorph. I thought that would, but it didn't get a single vote. Obviously, the overwhelming majority was all the above / other, which is the camp I fall in myself. So, like, I can see that. I understand that. Now, while we're at it, let's go to another Facebook group. Let's go to another OSR centric group. We're going to go to Basic Fantasy RPG, and we're going to we are going to find the results for that. And we'll probably come back here to like give our personal opinions and feedback off of what's on the Facebook group. So, okay, here's my poll, and we'll go through the comments on this one. So, on this one, at least all the options got at least one vote. So, off of the options I gave, the winner, although very slimly, and I was surprised by this, was other / all of the above with 32%. Runner-up was pre-planned / scripted with 30%. Followed by pre-published with an 18%. Random / Geomorphs at 13%. And dead last, of course, was Donjon or similar sites. I was a little bit surprised. I was a little surprised that, but then again, because the only thing that surprised me is I thought all the above would get more like by a landslide. I was incorrect. So, a very close second was the pre-planned / scripted. So that means that there's just more or less just as many people that'll sit down and just they'll have some kind of guideline, I guess, and just build on. And of course, we're going to get to the comments. Let's show all the comments because we did get some feedback. So, Chuck says, I will usually look for a map via Google or Pinterest, and then will write the contents encounters myself. Note, this is how I've been doing it since I started running games online. Previously, I would start with a blank piece of graph paper and go from there. And again, no right or wrong way to do this. So, I understand that. It helps save time. It certainly does. Because we want to get materials for our players, right? John says, running players to the old island fortress in Morgansport now, but also picked up some PY or PWYW maps online from DriveThruRPG for side quests that I have to add to the room description / comments. Also, create my own mini dungeon for the ruined castle and chaotic caves module where the party started out. Chris Gonerman gave some feedback, and he said, and this is where I acknowledge the flaw in my poll. He says, where is the I draw them on graph paper and stock them myself? And then I answered, I'd suppose pre-planned. This poll ain't perfect, but it mimics the one I have on YouTube, and it only gets 5 options there. And, okay, so Lee started like this subthread, but, and I'm not going to read all the subthread, but I am going to read the relevant info. Lee says, this is, I guess, I write some concepts in my notebook, like insects and undead, and then designed some interconnected rooms and populated them with the chosen mobs. And for those of you that don't know what he means like kind of like cannon fodder, lower level monsters, reading through the Basic Fantasy Adventures, I realized I allowed my personal biases for or against certain mobs. So I'm trying to add some more randomness these days by choosing categories and then rolling for specific mobs. And I want to say, because I don't know if Lee is watching this, but there's no right or wrong way. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to stick in your dungeon. So, kudos to you. Ken says, I've not run anything in a very long time, 25 plus years. Oof. I hear, brother. I'd love for you to get a game. But when I did, it was a different system, and it was all the above. Different John says, I've also read other people's adventures and adapted them to my own needs/taste. There you go. Again, no right or wrong way to do this. So as with my YouTube poll, all the above/other came in first place. Although, strangely enough, in the Basic Fantasy RPG group, it was first place, but not by a very large margin. 32% for it versus the pre-planned/scripted for 30%. And again, I don't mean like a railroady thing. When you have an idea of what you want to put, how you want to build it, you have an idea, and then you build on from there. You might draft it several times, but eventually you'll get to where you're happy with it. So that was the Basic Fantasy RPG. So we are going to the Christian D&D community, and because I was curious what the results would be from, again, a Facebook group that is more focused on more modern editions like 5e or Pathfinder 2e. I was a little bit curious of what the results would be. So let me just find my poll here. Yeah. So we have a different first place winner for this one. And by a very... What is it? Yeah, it's okay. She's tired. She's cranky. But anyway, we have a first place winner, and it's not even close. So scripted/planned with 54%. Second place is other/all the above, but it's not very close. 21% voted for that. Followed by pre-published, which is 14%. Rolled/geomorphs at 8%. And Donjon or similar sites at 3%, dead last. Donjon or similar sites seems to be coming up dead last on a lot of things. So we have comments here, and we will address them. They are 11 comments, I believe. And there was a total of 46 votes on this one. I didn't count the votes on the other one. But, we can go back and check. Alan says, we run one per week with rotating GMs. There you go. We need a lot of material. We take wherever we can get it and shoehorn it into our campaign world. There you go. You just stick it somewhere. David says, I do online, and it is easier to use pre-gen stuff to get it going quicker. Again, correct. Yeah, no wrong way to do this. So I'm guessing David is somebody who uses Donjon primarily, or a similar website. Daniel says, I like using Donjon and then editing the results a bit to help them make sense. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. If I was going to use Donjon a lot, I would definitely kind of fart around with it, to make it make sense to a degree. Zeke says, the last time I GM'd before moving, I used Geomorph. I already had the theme and premise in mind. It was a pirate's den inspired by Final Fantasy 14. Benjamin, who plays actually in my play-by-post for Morgan's Fort, he's been one of my friends for years. He asked, what's a geomorph? And so Zeke, in case you don't know what a geomorph is, they're dungeon tiles and templates that you mix and match. May come in the form of cards or dice. A good example of this are the ones on Dyson Logos's work, where he made a set of dungeon sections that you can connect together to form something. So, in case you didn't know what a geomorph is, but I'm kind of taking for granted that people that watch my channel know what a geomorph is. Jamie says theater of the mind. I think Jamie might have misunderstood what I meant. I didn't mean like battle mats or nothing like that, but all the same, Jamie, thank you for contributing. Corwin, I love your name, Corwin. It's really cool. I plan out as much as I can so I can improv around player choices. Anything that doesn't get used, I can recycle into something else or tie into a near future encounter. And there you go. Yeah, I like that. I think everybody does that to some degree. As long as like, because he's saying improv around player choices. So there you go. Like, as long as you're not taking away like, you know, player agency, there ain't nothing wrong with planning around. Again, by the scripted pre-planned, I didn't mean like anything railroady. It was just simply you draft, build up. Gavin says, I tend to use Donjon or pre-published to get my ideas rolling, and or a loose map. Then plan the rest with some randomness by rolling randoms. There you go. I'm like that too. Where's chaotically random? I would say it'd be under other. Carl, I apologize. Again, I acknowledge the weakness of my poll. It's not great, not great. It's not perfect, by the Lord. So, Reformed Tabletop Gamers, which, by the way, if you are a Christian, is another Christian themed group. However, as the name implies, Reformed. So, holding to the Reformed confessions. So, like, if you're a London Baptist Confession of Faith guy like I am, or if you're a Westminster Confession, or if you're like Heidelberg Catechism, or whatever, so Savoy, you'd be right at home here. It's Christian. You don't necessarily have to be Reformed to join this group, but anything that, like, obviously, if you try to criticize Reformed theology and Calvinism and stuff like that, you'll be shown the door pretty quick. But just as an aside, and we generally try not to post anything on Sundays, which Sundays I usually try to reserve as Lord's Day. Anyway, personally, I do. That's my personal conviction. I do occasionally have to work. I have to work this Sunday, so it's not going to be. I'm not a big fan of it. So let me find the poll I posted here. So, by what we've seen so far, those who are more OSR centered tend to use all of the above, and those who are more kind of like new school oriented prefer planning and scripting. That was a very interesting vote. Because the pre-planned / scripted had such this wide percentage of votes. Like, it was pretty clear cut. There'd be no need for a recount. You know what I mean? So, but now that we're at the Reformed Tabletop Gamers group, the voting is, we have all of the above / other taking first place again. This time by a wider margin than it was in the Basic Fantasy RPG group. And this time, it almost matches the same percentage of the votes that was done in Christian D&D community. So, with 50%, all of the above / other has taken first place. Followed by, in second place, pre-planned / scripted with 30%, and pre-published materials at 20% coming up. in third place. And of course, Random slash Geomorph and Donjon or similar sites are both dead last with 0%. They didn't get any votes in this group. So, and there was only one comment, and Colin, who is one of the admins, said planned or published. So, what's the take? What was the whole point of me posting this? What was the point of the poll? Honestly, I was just curious. Anybody who's a game master, anybody who runs games, anybody that creates things, you are, obviously you're willing to try a lot of different things to try to make your job easier, because the whole point is to get materials for your players, get them playing. Obviously, they can't play with a blank sheet of paper. There, and it's something I might ask about one day. Of course, the OD&D, the original D&D idea was to roll randomly as the players were playing, so that the dungeon would change each time after they'd go to the surface and then go back in later. It'd be different every time. So it's one of the reasons why Gary had, within the first edition of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, why he had that random dungeon generator in Appendix 1. So, which, if you are looking for the easiest way to get a hold of something like that is Osric, which is free to download. But you can also find Gary's first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master Guide. So, with that, again, no right or wrong way. I was just trying to see how everybody riffed. Really, be honest with you. Whether you create your own stuff or if you rely on the creation of others. Again, nothing wrong with that. You go ahead and you run as you see fit. But I suppose that's it for that section. Let's go take a look at Basic Fantasy RPG Group. Let's see some of the posts, because I haven't really read in a while. Which, if you are not a member, is a public group. It's not private. You can definitely find it. It's literally just called Basic Fantasy RPG if you're on Facebook. So, Brandon, a couple of hours ago, so I got really excited and I joined Roll20 again. I searched for BFRPG. There are 2 games. What am I doing wrong? I'm sorry that I keep asking questions, but I really want to play this game really bad. I do not want to play anything else besides this game. How can I get into a game on Roll20? I feel like an idiot not knowing what to do. Please help me out. I would prefer text game, if that is at all possible. Well, Brandon, I don't have any experience with Roll20. To be honest with you, I think that you would have better luck going Discord. I've actually run Discord games before as play-by-post by text, because I understand that while I do prefer live interactive play, I do understand that is not what is available for everybody. Like, sometimes you can't set aside a few hours out of a week to sit there and play with somebody. I get that. I understand that. It's not the end of the world. It is, I would say, like, to be honest with you, my man, I would just abandon Roll20. Go Discord. There are plenty of games on Discord. I'm actually thinking about starting one on Rollgate, but I don't know yet. Another play-by-post on Rollgate. I might put Angle Event on there whenever I'm ready for it, but I'm not sure yet. I'll figure that out as I go. Chris Gonerman posted 3 days ago. So after the crazy January we had, my promotional fund is deep enough to actually buy some gasoline. I'm looking for... I'd say so after everybody started buying up everything. I'd say, you see, the thing is, he doesn't make much of a profit from Basic Fantasy RPG, but he does a decent amount from Iron Falcon. And I'd say he probably does have gas money from that. After everybody got nervous. I'm looking for suggestions for role playing game conventions that would be friendly to basic fantasy RPG, where I could go and run some games. Specifically, looking at the time frame in May, uh, from May to September. I don't know. I've never been to a convention, so I don't really know. I would love to go visit GaryCon at some point, but I don't know. The thing is, like, anytime I hear of gaming conventions, like, I hear it's like so super political now, um, that I would almost avoid it. It's one of the reasons why I don't run my games at the local game shop, because uh, basically, if it's not 5e and if you don't like agree to their safety card rules and stuff like that, you can't run a game there. And it's like, well, I don't need you guys anyway. What are you? Are you sweepy? Are you sweepy? You like that song? She getting sweepy. Anyway, I would love to go to a convention if I can find one that's not going to be like super political. Like, and I like literally does not have to agree with my politics. I just want no politics at all. Um, I'm going to probably butcher this name, so if he happens to watch this, I apologize in advance. Pierre Alberto. It looks like two names kind of mashed together. So Pierre Alberto. Hello, everyone. Do you know of adventures with giant frogs as the main enemy? Uh, Make your own. I know that's probably not what you were looking for, but I mean, uh, and I'm using that as one of the coolest things. Is I actually have this game on my Switch called Tales of Iron, which is like very much based off of like a combination of Redwall and uh, and kind of like uh, Dark Souls a little bit. And the narrator actually is the guy who voices Geralt of Rivia in the Witcher games. So uh, in that game, you play as a rat, as the prince of a rat kingdom, who's trying to avenge his kingdom and his father against a kingdom of frogs and toads. And so, you know, if you want to go with like a Redwall kind of thing, you know, make it to where like your players play mice, or you know, something like that, small animals or whatever, and have them like go around and like killing frogs and snakes and stuff like that. You know, snake can be a dragon or whatever. You know, something cool like that. So it's a cool idea, my man. I love when people like kind of like reference things from outside the box, so to speak, and like because you can definitely, you know, because even Chris Godwin says right here we need to write one. That'd be so cool. It'd be very, like I'm actually thinking about making one for kid friendly. Like I don't know, I'm so knee deep in Anglivan right now. I would love to write one. Timothy, I recently joined an online game and I'm finding that the BRP, Edit BFRPG, game seems particularly well suited to online play. It doesn't hurt that the GM really knows the rule set well. Yes, it is very well suited to online play, especially text based. And, well, you say it doesn't hurt that the GM knows the rule set. Well, I mean, at the same time, there's not a lot to learn. You know, I'm a big believer in that if a game is simple enough that a 10-year-old can play it and run it, then honestly, that's the kind of game you need to run. Uh, like, I find it so weird at modern games. Like, I understand that people love crunchiness. I can't stand it. Uh, like, it just feels like it bogs everything down. I can't stand crunchiness. John asks, "What's the best trap you've created, and how did it play out?" Okay, so those of you that probably remember the mention of the Forsaken Necromancer, there was a trap. It was right before the room where you fight the titular Forsaken Necromancer, before you fight Usfer. Uh, and the trap in and of itself was not deadly. It was literally just a shoot, right? So after the party fights a bunch of these skeletons and stuff like that, they hear all these voices, and they rescued the kidnapped priest, whatever, and took him back to town. Then they came back later the next day, and then they went back to it. They found and they hired a wizard from the town, a magic user from the town. They went into the hallway. There was a trap, literally that you could not avoid. That was going to go straight to. That was like before Usfer's chamber, and if you stepped on it, and you failed, you were going to go down a slide. Was not deadly in and of itself. It's what it led to, because it drops somebody off it would drop the players off in a dark cave, one level down, which is where Usfer actually had his servants like dig up all these corpses and bodies and stuff like that, and he would also all the people that he kidnapped, like murdered, he turn them into zombies or various undead and stick them down here in this cave. And so there'll be some like shambling zombies and stuff like that. And for a character that did not bring a torch and did not have dark vision, that could be extremely dangerous, because there wasn't a lot of zombies down there. There's probably only about 5, but that can be dangerous in and of itself, especially for a level 1 party. So, which they had a hard time with the with the skeletons, because they all had, with the exception of the druid who did not want to be in melee range, they all had bladed weapons, because they didn't even have a cleric. They had a druid and they had a paladin, and they all had bladed weapons except for the druid who had a club, but she also had a I believe she had a bow. I think druids are allowed to have bows, but I'm not sure. In any case, I ruled at the time that she could have a bow. But that was a fun trap. I thought it was a fun idea. What's your favorite campaign for level 1 characters? Easily Morgan's Fort. I think it's a good introduction to what a sandbox is, because it's based off of B2. It's very similar to B2. If you want to know Chris Garnerman's recommendations, he says, my number 1 option, start with Beneath Brymasson from AA1. Make the unnamed village in JN1, the Chaotic Caves, actually be Brymasson, and then run at least part of the caves section afterwards. At some point, throw in an adventure hook to get them to travel to BF1 Morgan's Fort, which can be set somewhere nearby, and let them do some of that. Placing Nameless Dragon from BF1 just off the road between the 2 locations works really well. Maybe throw in one of the... I think he means Toothless Dragon. Just off the road between 2 locations works really well. Maybe throw in one of the low-level Castle by the Sea adventures somewhere between Morgan's Fort and Slateholme, and let them wander back at some appropriate time to the Brymasson area where they can do the manor part of the adventure. Add in some appropriate level AA1 and AA2 adventures for good measure. An option I haven't tried, DC1, Tales from the Laughing Dragon, possibly punched up with add-on adventures, maybe even Beneath Brymasson as a starter, set in the Dragonclaw Barony area. A low-level Castle by the Sea, some other AA series adventures. If you want something more folklore / fairy tale, KH1 Black Apple Brew is a good one. I'm not running, but just reading it is exciting. Not sure what would work well as an add-on or follow-up for that adventure, though. As characters gain levels, we have higher level adventures. I'm hopefully going to get the chance to run Fortress of the Iron Duke from BF to Fortress Tomb and Tower soon, and maybe if I'm lucky later yet, I'll be able to throw in Castle D'Angelo from BF3 Strongholds of Sorcery. Kathy, I thought it would be. I thought I would offer feedback from a new BF player in my high school game. Uh, he had been a 5E player and was willing to try BF with our club. He is committed to returning next week. His comments were all positive and we all had a great time. He didn't die, but he watched as another player died, and another went unconscious at 0 HP. So I'm guessing she's running like death saves, which is, not, I run death saves too. Not in every game, but I do have them. The shift to BF from 5E has all been positive so far, and the new students are enjoying every week. Total last night, 2 tables and 11 PCs. Whew, that's a big group. Not bad considering the students have been testing for 2 days. Yeah. Give the kids something to kind of decompress after all that testing. It's a nice hobby to have, to decompress. Battling monsters, fighting dire wolves, and outwitting kobolds is great for stress relief. Yeah, like the cool thing about these games is that like they help you decompress. Like that, like me sitting down with Anglovan and like adding things to it and like figuring out what I'm going to do with what has been very nice. Okay. She's still awake, but she's getting ready to fall asleep. Alrighty. So, what else do we have? Oh, this is the same Brandon, but he posted this 2 days ago. So this is the Brandon that was talking about Roll20 a bit ago, and I said he should probably check out Discord instead. Hello, fellow role players. I love RPing. I've been playing with friends for many years. That being said, I know absolutely nothing about online RPing. I've heard that this is the way things are going, and if I want to play this, is the only way I can these days. I know very little about Discord and Roll20. I have all the books that you can get on Amazon. Not a flex, I just really enjoy reading them. The Monsters and Equipment books are my favorite. I am also a little confused on how to play. If anyone can point me in the right direction, I'll be greatly appreciated. Thanks. Okay, so number one, I'm going to say that if you want to play, this is the only way I can play nowadays. He's referring to online play being the only way to play. It's not the only way to play, although I don't know your situation, whether or not you have personal friends, which is not, or family, which is no big deal. If you don't have it, you don't have them. Yeah. You see, I have the problem where most of my personal friends now live out of state. I have a couple that live in Ohio. I have one that lives in Michigan. I have one that's from Michigan, but he lives in Washington State. And another one lives in San Antonio, Texas, and he works as a lawyer down there. So, yeah, and time zones is weird. But the cool thing is, and this one's very funny, is that whenever we are able to play, it's normally around 9 p.m. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for me. And for whatever reason, that works out for everybody else in the time zones that's behind us. So, so for the Central, for the Mountain, and for the Pacific time guy, for whatever reason, at those particular times of the day, they're available. Like, they're ready to go. So, second of all, how to play. Okay, so I think it comes from a confusion because of the vagaries of certain rules in the game. That is left to DM interpretation. If the referee decides to rule something one way, then their rule is law. You can't. There's no debating it. But if you are looking to be a GM, really, just jump in there and make rulings and just have fun. So, I mean, don't sweat the rules. There's my poll. We're going to go past. How many votes did that have, by the way? Had 65 votes. That's a pretty big poll then. In our BFRPG game, this is posted by Trevor. In our BFRPG game, we decided horseshoes of climbing are a thing for our scout's pony, whose name is Trevor. Homebird, a magical item for the pony. And it's horseshoes and climbing. I'm guessing. Oh, this is posted by Ben. The pony's name is Trevor. Okay. So I'm guessing the horseshoes help the pony climb up ledges and stuff, like a goat, like a mountain goat. Which is interesting. Never seen anybody homebrew something for their mount before. That's I like that for whatever reason. All right, so Rob showing off his binders and folders and books for basic fantasy, which I have plenty over here myself, but his is definitely much more enviable. Has anyone here run the Midderland setting BFRPG? I have not. I don't. Be honest with you, I don't think I've heard of Midderlands. Um, Timothy enjoying some scotch, some Dove chocolate, and reading through the BFRPG 4 rules. Okay, here's kind of alright. Here's what's kind of started my live series, to be honest with you, because it was kind of my reaction to things. So this is the so Rick says, okay, so this is an AITA post, and if you don't know what that means, it means, am I the a-hole? So he wants to know, and for all intents and purposes, we will be saying, am I the butt? So, we're going to try to keep it PG. I have been trying to, which my channel was never really known for cussing. It's just that one reaction video I did, like I got a little bit too honest. Kind of let my tongue get untamed for a bit. So anyway, we're going to call this the Am I the Butt? So Rick posts, played BFRPG last night with a relatively new GM. Started about 8 months ago. Plays approximately once monthly. So he's got 8 sessions under his belt. That's not bad. That's experience. We all start somewhere. Party is level 2 to 3. Comprises a mix of basic classes, 5 to 8 characters total. This was our 6th session with my wife and I playing. Now the whole campaign has been problematic thus far, but we have persevered. That was until last night. So I kind of want you to define problematic. Like, why has it been problematic? The GM ran the Jester's Tomb, a one-page dungeon widely available through a Google search. It was hideously overpowered. I would be hesitant to run it for a level 15 party. We've now dropped out from playing. So, AITA for dropping out. Am I the butt for dropping out of the campaign? Or should we have continued to show up and show support for inexperienced GM despite getting no fun out of the game? Well, number one, I'm a big... Okay. I can't help how you feel. So if you feel like this is terrible, it should. But I'm a big believer in honesty is the best policy. Did you... Okay. Did you have prior knowledge of the Jester's Tomb before he ran it? Or did you only do that after the fact? Because that's important. If you had knowledge of what was in the Jester's Tomb before he ran it, you should have made that clearer. So I need some more information to go off of that. Now, so it starts 8 months ago, plays approximately once monthly. So the GM who I've actually been assuming is a male, but never has been stated in this. So I'm just going to use I'm still going to use like he as a broadly general thing. So if you don't like it, get over it. But anyways, so okay, plays once monthly, approximately. Started 8 months ago. It's got 8 sessions. It's actually a pretty decent amount of sessions to have. Like my Mortal Coil campaign that I started. Um, we're getting ready to hit session 10. Uh, and there's been a lot that has been accomplished in those previous 9 sessions. Even the half sessions, even the sessions that only lasted for a couple of hours or maybe 30 minutes. Decent amount got, because there was one day where I felt sick and I was honest with them about it. And I said, I don't know if I can continue, guys. I might have to drop out. So I was pretty honest about that. Honesty is the best policy. I'm telling you right now, honesty is the best policy. Um, so I would say experienced to a degree. Obviously, he is not like, he's not like an old head. You know what I mean? Like he's not like a grognard. Yeah, like, but okay. So the whole campaign has been problematic, but you're not defining what it has been problematic. What's been problematic about it? Um, let's see if we can't go to the comments and if see if we can get a little light on the situation. Okay. Uh, hello, my gooby. All right, so I'm going through the comments. Um, Edward, overpowered, easy fix, turn tail and run. Not every encounter scenario and adventure should be balanced. I agree with that. The reality of being defeated should show its presence every once in a while. Uh huh. Otherwise, the game becomes routine and boring. Rick responded, problem is that the whole premise for the adventure led to a place where everything needed to be ran away from. So run away and put the GM in a position of having to either stop the session for the night or come up with something else to run. RPGs are supposed to allow players to make choices, and that is always an option to choose. Unless, of course, you prefer railroading style game session. I agree with Ed on this one. Like, there's a lack of information that I'm not seeing. Okay, how many times, here's what Todd says, how many times over the 6 sessions did people provide feedback to the GM? That is my big thing. That's why I said honesty is the best policy. That's why I said honesty is the best policy. And, like, there seems to be a severe lack of little goof. There seems to be a severe lack of communication going on. Because that's what I was thinking too. Was your feedback ignored? Rick says, feedback at the end of almost every session, plus mentoring when the GM plays in my campaign. Lack of preparedness is part of the problem, I think. I don't know how to counter that. Well, the thing is, you don't have to necessarily be prepared. Todd. Yeah, when you've done all you can as a player, sometimes you do have to vote with your feet. Been there. Kevin says lack of preparedness is the kiss of death, especially for most new GMs. Yeah, but what are we defining as? What are we defining as preparedness? You know what I mean? Like, what's defined being prepared? Now, obviously, if you're running like a sandbox, that's a totally different thing. Like, you can be as hands off as you want. really, and just let the dice rolls make it. But I don't know. I'm having. All right, here's the devil's advocate question here. How are you giving it feedback? Is it hey, it seems like some numbers might be off here, like we ran into a lot of orcs, goblins, zombies, or is the feedback this adventure sucks? We have to run from everything. Ugh. Because one is helpful, the other is just whining. You mentioned mentoring him as well. Are you trying to be helpful, or are you just do, or are you're doing this wrong to him? I wish I had been. I wish it had been too many arcs. I'm happy that I've made the right decision for me. I don't quit easy. Mentoring by chatting over WhatsApp. WhatsApp. Letting her. Okay, so this is a her. This is a she. So this is a woman. So I will call her from here on out. Mentoring by chatting over WhatsApp. Letting her know why I chose to do whatever, and expressing that my way is most definitely not the only way. Okay, I agree with that. I thought the name was familiar after Googling check. The Jester's Tomb is basically a smaller tomb of horrors. There is only one outright combat encounter in there that's not really telegraphed or hidden behind a puzzle for the players. Any and all fights otherwise are the result of the players messing up. It's the quintessential OSR combat is a result of failure mindset and all about puzzles and traps. So somewhere, someone did someone wrong. Uh, Rick responded with, "Not how the GM played it though. Played it out though. It didn't even get a read through before we sat to play." Okay, now I would say that the GM should have did her job and read. Need to read this. Um, for example, I've often expressed the desire to run Tomb of Horrors, but I know what Tomb of Horrors is, and I'm sure if you're watching this video, you know what Tomb of Horrors is. It's not exactly something you just spring up on somebody you're not prepared for. You know what I mean? It's like because it's infamous for game masters even nerfing it, like trying to make it easier. You know, because it's got that GM versus player mentality. You know what I mean? Which it's not always bad, but like it's like taken to its worst degree. Like Gary really made this sadistic thing, which the funny thing is I love it because it's that sadistic, but like because it's like it's the ultimate party killer, and it's infamous for it, and I love it. But you know, in this case, we were hitting monsters before the tricks and traps started. Then we got embroiled in a shit storm. So, yeah. Chris Gonerman, not the a-hole. A GM, even an inexperienced one, should be able to tell if the players are having a good time. That is, yeah. I'm confused on what the communication is because I don't think Rick is a butt for leaving. Absolutely not. If you're not having fun, you're not having fun. But like, are you? I don't know. There's just so much I don't know. You're saying it's like problematic from the start. You haven't given me any examples on how it has been. I'm sure it has been. Like you're like I'm sure I'm sure like you feel wronged. You know what I mean? Like, and I can't help that. And I'm sure you have legit complaints. I'm just hoping that you really did communicate as effectively as possible. Honesty is always the best policy. If you okay, so Landon says if you're not having fun, you don't need to play. That's true. I mean, if you're not having fun, don't play. You know, it's just simple as that. Um, Try not to let it kill a group. You know, you don't know when you'll have another group. If you don't have personal friends and family that gather around and play regularly, you don't know when you'll have another group then. Okay. So Gary says, yes, I think you should support your new GM. He's learning. You can help him learn. Discuss it with him. However, I would like to point out that the overall concept of playing BFRPG is for the GM to spoon feed monsters modules at your appropriate level. That is actually, you know, there's no, like I said, there's no right or wrong way. You can always have an encounter that's ridiculously deadly, and I'm cool with that. But everything is up to GM Fiat. You don't have to give your players the big black dragon at level 1. You know, you don't have to have that pop up. Like, it's just kind of an interesting what happened. You know what I mean? It's just like you don't have to have the dragon fall out of the sky and start fighting them. You know, there's always reaction rolls and stuff like that. Like, keep everything by, like, this is kind of why I've started to change my mind about DM screens and see why people like them and why I'm no longer like so opposed to them. But anyways, roll the encounter, roll the reaction roll. If you think it's going to be way too dangerous and you don't want to kill the party, then don't. It's literally one of the few instances in which I can think of in which fudging the dice is justified. So there's nothing wrong with that. Mark says, so he's GM'd 8 times. Still learning then. I'm not familiar with the scenario, but did you just have some bad rolls? It happens all the time. Did both of you not enjoy it, or just one of you? That can put the other off playing in itself. If you have to ask, am I the a-hole, then you probably are. Okay, so here's Rick. So here's what Rick's response to that was. She's GM'd around 10 times, because again, this GM is actually a girl or a woman. I don't know her age. But she GM'd around 10 times, still learning, but also not receptive to feedback. Okay, now that is a problem. I've played games in the past with referees who don't listen, don't observe, and don't consider what the players might take issue with. Yeah, we both dropped out. We've given the campaign 6 months, and in that time noticed favoritism towards some players. Oh, okay, that's a big one. That's okay. So you said it was problematic. This has to be what you're talking about. Favoritism towards some players over others. Some players being ignored when actions are discussed. Okay, now I would have a problem with that. I'm a returned DM with a history of long running campaigns. At one time running 3 simultaneously. So I'm not a whiner or unrealistic in my expectations, but I don't expect her game to mirror mine, but I do expect to have fun. Yeah, okay. So if you have this favoritism problem, okay, and if she's not listening and she's got that history, then yeah, it's probably time to step away. So I can get on. I now that I know what was problematic, I can get on your side. As long as you communicated, yeah, you're not the butt. If you didn't communicate, then yeah, you are the butt. But you said that you were not. You said that you had been communicating, so I'll take your word for it. So yeah, not the butt. Alrighty. Anything new? Well, we're going far back enough to where we're still talking about the OGL, so nothing new on that end. So I don't know. thinking about what else we could talk about before I get off. Uh, let's take a look at. Really, be honest with you, I can't think of anything else to say. Uh, well, I guess I could discuss Anglovan before I get off. So I've been redoing a lot of Anglovan. I've redone the map. I felt like the map was a little too bland, sort of. So I'm redoing it. I'm also redoing Galdeth, and I decided that I was going to do all this one tiny little step at a time. Galdeth is going to be a much bigger city because it's supposed to be a bigger deal in Anglovan. And so you're going to have, a business district. You're going to have an area where the where where the Duke lives, and his right hand men. Their mansions are going to be separated from the rest of the town behind the wall, inside the walls. So like you have this, like you're going to walk into the city market district basically, with the temple there as well, and then to the north you got like the Duke's mansion, which is ginormous, and then his buddies' mansions, nearby, nowhere near as big, but nearby. Most of the city is going to be paved, so like paved road kind of thing. The only landscaping you see is actually in the mansion district, and to the east are going to be uh, the commons, the slums, because I decided I definitely 100% wanted to have factions, which is something I'll eventually talk about one day. But I wanted to have factions within the city, especially crime related ones. So, a seedy underbelly kind of thing. And I kind of based it off of for whatever reason, Peaky Blinders inspired it a little bit, because like in case you didn't know, Peaky Blinders is basically the fictionalized uh, retelling of Glasgow Razor gangs, and so I'm kind of like making up uh, factions that are they're not going to reflect the beliefs of those guys, but they're going to act like them. You know what I mean? Like if you watch the show, they're going to act like these guys. Uh, so not good people. They're they're going to be fighting all the time, and like they'll even try to mug the players. If the players decide they want to side with a faction in that city, well, then they're a target to all the other warring factions that are not allied to that faction. If they remain neutral, well, sometimes they'll be left alone, sometimes they'll be targeted. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that whole prison thing. You know what I mean? Like you hear guys who go into prison, they tell you the only safe thing to do is to join a gang, because it's worse than not joining, because everybody's coming after you if you're not joining. So that's the way that I approached it. I thought it was interesting approach to it, to add some factions and stuff like that. I am going to continue to have some like side areas and dungeons. I am reworking the lore to the Tomb of what was it? What it called? Tomb of the Forlorn. I'm redoing the Tomb of the Forlorn and redoing its lore and stuff like that. Um, I've got some ideas, and I'm going to play around with that. But I'm going to start one tiny step at a time. I think my big problem was I made this overall huge map, but I didn't have any idea what the things on the map were. You know what I mean? It's like I had Gall Death, the city in the middle, but it was honestly a little bit too small for it to be this big of a deal. So I'll be doing that. Hopefully, I will have that playable in the near future. Because I would love for people to play it. I would love for people to play it. So, that's all I can think about. I believe I'm going to get off because I'm starting to ramble. Um, as always, guys, if you got the money, pardon me, if you got the money and you got the time, and it's not going to hurt you, I do, as always, want to keep plugging St. Jude's Children's Hospital, and I will. I'm still growing the hair out, still not shaving, So, as always, guys, here you go. How are you? All right, that's my cue to get off. So, as always, guys, I got your hair in my mouth. As always, guys, take care. God bless. See you on the other side. Close out. Close out. Why does it always do? There we go. Oh, you're